Hello, this is Gretchen, and this is the Vintage Seagull. And today's video is going to be actually kind of a serious video, like not dramatic, but it's all about, when you want to be vintage or you're a reenactor and you do things not in the modern world, having support from your partner, whether it's male, female, or whatnot, how it can be kind of a challenge or be a rift between you two, and what to compromise on and how to kind of work together on that. If you're really into it and they're not, that can be a challenge. I really wanted to address that issue. Today, I had to dress sort of modern-ish. I still want to kind of dress vintage. I'm going to a professional event in my field, so I picked, this is a Worthington top. It looks to me kind of vintage-y. It could be like a 40s print. It could also pass for 70s. I bought this at JCPenney a few years ago. And I have some nice blue vintage pants that are comfortable. Tied my hair back and did simple Ingrid Bergman makeup again. I just do that kind of makeup when I'm cleaning the house or have to do something. So that explains my outfit. And again, I asked if you could like and subscribe so we can build up this channel. And I'm going to get into the subject matter in different components through this video. Okay, so issues when you want to be vintage and your partner doesn't. So let's say you are really into vintage. Let's pretend you're into 1940s. And your boyfriend really likes to play video games and wear hooded sweatshirts and has absolutely no interest in it. You could coexist where you're vintage and they're not, but if they don't like that you're vintage, that's when it could be a problem. And so you have to talk through that and possibly compromise. Or if it's really important to you to have a partner who shares that with you, maybe this isn't the right person for you. Sometimes, let's say someone's a dog person or a cat person and the other person's not. Sometimes some people want to have children and other people do not. That could be an important factor for you as well. Or a female who's just like, hey, I want to be modern. I want to dress a certain way and things like that. Then you have, like, say someone who does a little bit of vintage or reenacts, but they only dress that way at reenactments and they want to be modern the rest of the time. You could have someone, unfortunately, who might be a bit controlling, who wants you to dress a certain way. I've had boyfriends that wanted me to honestly dress like Kim Kardashian. Not my thing, to be honest. I'm not trying to be judgmental, but I find that to be very desperate and attention-seeking, and it doesn't look very good from my perspective. But other people like it, and that's fine too. It's do your own thing. But that can cause a problem. So, like by a relationship, if one person wants to do one thing and another person wants to do another, and you don't line up accordingly. So again, you have to decide, I'm over here, you're over here. Or do we compromise and do a little bit, or do we go all in and this is like we're really into it? So there's that too. There's also issues with relationships with people who reenact. For example, if one person reenacts and the other person doesn't, or one person really is into reenacting and the other person's sort of not so into it, I have seen through that community that being a problem in the relationship. And it's a problem because say the guy loves to reenact and he's gone every weekend and the girl is like not into it at all. He gets new friends, and if say something romantic goes down or even not, he might not be around. I think the important thing in any relationship is you need to do things together to cultivate that relationship. And when you do your passion and your hobby so separate from one another, it doesn't matter what it is, that's when things start to transpire. So whether you're single, in a relationship, in a marriage, it's really important to, again, I know I probably sound like a broken record, to agree to disagree, to compromise, or go all in. And then if your relationship isn't working out, or you're single, you could also be seeking out someone who aligns for what you're looking for. One thing I forgot to say, I wouldn't, whether gender you are, I would not nitpick, I would not nag, I would not force someone to do anything. Let's say the example I gave, someone forcing me to be more modern, I would not force them to be more vintage. So it has to be a natural progression in what the person really truly wants. So if you have a partner that does like vintage, let's say they purchased an older house and they've been into it. Let's say they reenact, or they like to dress the style, or they like you in the style. I would have like a frank conversation on like, what time periods do you like the best? What time periods do you want to wear together? Or what time periods do you want to see me wear? For me personally, I used to just dress this way at reenactments, and then I started to dress a little bit here and there for social events. And now I'm trying to do it all the time. But then if you have like a corporate job or something like that, you have to kind of tone it back in those situations. So understanding, in the relationship, what the capacity is, what people can do or cannot do in, their professional lives. There are people who go full, I'm trying to think of the term, like method actors who they design their house 1950s, they don't have an iPhone, they go all in, and that would not be me. Again, I'm kind of person where I don't watch TV. I haven't watched TV since middle school, but I do read books. And I watch, DVDs. I like having hard copies of things. And and then I like records, but I also like listening to music on my iPhone playlist. I try to be a bit minimalist on my apps. So I have like a reduced level of technology, maybe a little bit. And then obviously for work and professional reasons, but I don't do a lot of those modern things like television or like a Spotify playlist. I don't do any of that. I just do the old-fashioned iTunes playlist that I do on my computer and compile it together. So I'm not doing a method kind of position with vintage, but it's dressing vintage and being myself, and kind of having somewhat reduced technology, but being practical and within reason. So if you're single, it's a perfect opportunity to also brainstorm. You could look at what features you want in a person. I know when I was between relationships, I really wanted someone who could swing dance. So that was important, and that kind of goes into the 40s thing. So let's say you're into the 1920s. You want someone who can Lindy Hop. You want someone who likes to dress 1920s and go to 20s events and be a part of like a vintage society, or do 20s reenactments, or whatever it might be. Just kind of brainstorm, what are the deal breakers, what's okay, what you don't have to do. And when you are dating, it's a perfect opportunity to kind of go over that, to see if it's a good fit, if they're into this stuff or not, and make sure you pick the right person. Again, this is if this is critically important to you. And then some people are fine with just one person in the relationship being vintage, the other not, as long as that other person doesn't mock you or make fun of you or dislike you being vintage. I mean, you can have one person be vintage and the other not, but they really need to respect that and not try to change you. I think that's the thing. So brainstorming, you know, when you're single, like what you're really looking for, and kind of go over that with that person when you're dating. And then you could have a really fun, ideal lifestyle if you find that right person. So when you find that right person, this is kind of about like doing these things together. So what me and my domestic partner do is we sometimes we'll match each other outfit wise, like compliments. So like I'm wearing yellow today, so like he could wear something with the yellow accent, or you know, match the colors or the fabrics, or even just the time period. So if I'm dressed 30s, he would dress 30s. If we're going to an event, we want to match each other for a function. You know, doing these events together. So picking, do you want to just go to a vintage bar and dress up, or a date night? Do you want to go to a theme party or reenactments, and decide kind of how to complement and match and do that together. We can find a really positive person who likes to do that with you. It's a really fun thing. So even something like simple. So like if a guy goes to work and, you know, being very corporate, and he wears khaki pants and a button-down shirt and looks, you know, pretty modern, and that's kind of like the look I'm going with today. This is kind of a corporate, Worthington's a corporate brand and outfit, but you can double it as vintage, where he can come home, switch out a few accessories and look very vintage, and it's an easy swap out. And that's also when you do a simple vintage. So a woman could wear a skirt with a short sleeve button down, red lipstick and some hair, and you kind of look someone vintage-esque, but you're still in the modern realm. So this is kind of like how you would do this together. So I'm hoping this video was informative, because for one, in the reenacting community, that was one thing that was told to me. I've had a lot of male reenactor friends where the woman was not really into it, and the wife didn't do it and didn't understand it, like why this guy needs to buy so many swords. Or there's a girl who's like really into 50s, but you know, say the boyfriend's into World War I. They're not aligning time period wise with their passions. And also like doing vintage stuff. I've seen some YouTubers where you know, they kind of bring their boyfriend or husband along to do vintage, and they don't really seem into it, or they're not dressed vintage, like a guy with a t-shirt with a modern beard and haircut, and it's just not their thing. And so I kind of feel bad in a way, like he's being forced to do something he doesn't want to do, or maybe he's just shy. But this is a subject matter that's really important, especially you know, for the group I've started, or just it's more of a sensitive and serious topic, like how to align that with the people you hang out with and in your life. Like if you're having a relationship and this is really important to you, how it can impact if you're really into it and they're not, and you have to kind of communicate and figure out what's imperatively important, what's not, how you're gonna navigate it. So, you know, my ex-husband, again, was a reenactor, but he, again, didn't want me to dress a certain way in my modern world, and I feel like I get to pick that. But with my current relationship, we flow very naturally with doing this. It just fell into place. We really didn't have to discuss it much because we're so into this, whether it's the house, the way we decorate the house. We have a good rapport with that. I love to dress vintage, and I talked to him about, hey, would you want me to dress vintage all the time now? Things like that. And then, you know, events and things, and I said, I'm really into swing dance. So some communication, but for me, I'm lucky that this flows naturally, and it's just interesting. You could have someone totally modern, not into it, and you could also someone who does history who's not into it as well, which is strange to me, but it does happen. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it informative. as kind of a lifestyle navigation kind of thing, because I haven't seen any YouTubers address this topic that I've seen yet for the vintage or reenacting world. So we will see you on the next video.